Hey everyone, this will be a very brief outdoor interlude. It is minus 25. I don't think my phone can handle this kind of temperature. I don't think my hand being out of my pocket, though gloved, can handle this temperature. But it's a beautiful, sparkly, sunny day. And I wanted to say hello outside. I will do the rest of this video in the car when I get back in its warmth. I will see you then. Holy cow, it's cold out. This is much better. So I'll just sit here with my heated seat. I might have an old car, but it's new enough to have heated seats, and I swear that's all that matters, at least in this province. I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you had a happy new year. I've had the opportunity to talk to some pretty amazing people in my comment section over the past year and a half, or however long it's been since I've been doing YouTube videos. Some of you have challenged me and encouraged me to review things that I'm saying or believing, or things that I might be doing that are just out of habit or compassion or a perceived sense or duty to have compassion, and maybe they're things that aren't healthy for me or for society. And so I thank all of you for the many intellectually stimulating, wonderful conversations that I've had in the comments section. But in particular, I want to say thank you to the few of those who have really focused in on the concept of newspeak and encouraging me to not get pulled into any of the left's rhetoric, any of the Orwellian doublespeak. So in particular right now, I want to thank Frank Vaughan, who is someone that comments once in a while on videos, but more of a friend. We talk quite regularly. Frank recently made a video discussing this issue as well. And he also talked to me privately, and because Frank knows so much of my personal story and we're able to share things on the level of friendship, he was able to speak this to me in such a way that it was just sort of an aha moment, epiphany, and I really had to sit on it for a few days, right? And now I've also come across other people who are speaking similar truths and putting their foot down on where they believe enough is enough, right, with language and changing words and definitions and things like that. It's really important that I just state something right now that I think needs to be said, and it's not being said enough. So I, of course, on this channel, I rail pretty hard against, in particular, pharmaceutical and surgical intervention of transitioning young children to the opposite gender. I have a really hard time with that. I will include a link to the video I made about that regarding puberty blockers in the description below, as well as at the end. But I want to go beyond just the kid stuff. The kid stuff is the big one. Just do whatever you do as an adult. I don't care. I really don't. I have bigger fish to fry. But leave the kids alone, right? And I respect other people who are trans and in the trans community who just want to protect the kids and get that message out, and make sure that the importance of individual freedoms are maintained, and making sure that even, you know, though there's certain personal preferences or identities or whatever, that society doesn't start, I guess you could say, kind of catering to, pandering to that group, and then changing things around. And one thing that I think is getting missed in all of this discussion is just the straight up definition of woman. And this is something that Posey Parker brought to light for me. She's considered a complete transphobe and bigot and hater, but the more that I watch her, even though I don't agree with everything she says, the more that I can understand the importance of her work. And the importance of her work is just the definition of woman, adult, human, female. That's it. I ordered myself a t-shirt. It's kind of a birthday gift, you could call it. And I will be getting it pretty soon, hopefully. And it's controversial. And the fact that it's controversial is pretty crazy, right? 2019, 2020 now, to say that that is the definition of woman and that you will stick to that is extremely hateful and bigoted. But I disagree. I think it's truth, and I think it needs to be said. So I will say it so that there's clarity here on this channel of where I stand on the trans issue. I do not believe that a man can become a woman. I respect the identity, and I respect the mental and emotional health of the people that are in transition or have transitioned. I do not believe that you can become the other gender. I don't believe that. And I don't believe that science shows that. Women are women. and trans women are not women. I am not a woman with an XN. I am not a cis woman. I am a woman. And the reason I'm so staunch on this now is because it's become extremely clear to me that in trying to be really gentle and compassionate to the argument of others and the feelings of others, because I know what it's like to feel isolated, and I wouldn't want to be experiencing gender dysphoria. I think it'd be terrible. I have nothing but compassion for those who are that trapped or feel that trapped in their body. But I don't believe that pushing forward non-truths is actual compassion towards people that are in that position, and I don't think it's going to help us in the long run. And I think if we start changing basic definitions, we're in for a really, really hard next few, I don't know, decades, years, etc. It's not good. It's a very slippery slope, and I won't be a part of it. I'm sorry to any of you who I call a friend who are trans or who identify as the other gender. I respect you. I cannot, though, in good conscience, say that I believe that you are a woman if you are actually born a man, or vice versa. And when you've gone through specific women's issues, like endometriosis, which is a woman's disease, when you've had surgical removal of women's organs, when you've had an abortion and gone through that pain and that guilt and that sense of motherhood and then ruining it and going through that whole process, I'm really sorry, but I don't believe that any man can understand that. Even my male gynecologist can't understand that. My male husband, who is extremely supportive, can't understand that. My male friends who are compassionate cannot understand, because they are not women. And there are some things that are women related, period. End of discussion. Say that people can identify as a woman when they've never been one is an insult to women that have genuinely struggled with women issues. I'm not a feminist. I'm not coming at this from a turf point of view, okay? I'm not a trans exclusionary radical feminist. I'm not a feminist at all. See one of my very first videos where I'm basically telling radical feminists to shut up and stop being so insane. I'm not a feminist. But there are a lot of elements of this that are very disturbing. And if you take this away, if you don't think that there's going to be creeps that are going to take advantage of this stuff and just pretend to be identifying, of course there are. You know, I'm sorry, you're naive if you think that won't happen. Now, maybe that's a small percentage of the time, but every time we change a truth, we allow a new set of problems to arise. And at the very least, even if nothing negative in the social sphere came of this, it is demeaning to women's experiences. How can you know that you're born in the wrong body if you've never been in the other body? How can you know that? And how can you be separate from what you're born with? Your hormones, it's not just your DNA. We always talk about your DNA and your cells. And then I'll always hear, I read a lot of arguments, you guys, about the biology and science of multiple genders. And it all sounds really, really wordy and smart. But at the end, it's nothing. It's not anything. It's just fluffy nonsense is what I see. You are born with hormones that are specific to your gender. Now, the amount of testosterone and progesterone and estrogen varies in people, and that can result in various physiological things, whether it be more of a disease or dysfunction. You know, you can become more androgynous, right? Those things happen. But in general, you cannot be in the wrong body, because your brain, your spirit, your soul, your feelings are also dictated by the very hormones that run through every single cell in your body. You can feel different, but you cannot change. And what I'm struggling to understand is, in a world where we're supposedly so compassionate, and we have decided that we are going to really, really focus on making sure that things are acceptable and tolerated, which is good, that we want to be compassionate and help people. I find it very odd then that in this world that we would choose what I consider to be one of the cruelest ways of helping people who are finding themselves to feel like they're in the wrong body. We have destigmatized mental health, and rightly so. We have Bell Let's Talk Day. We have all these things going on. Well, maybe we should talk about the very serious fact that there's people in our society who feel so greatly at a disconnect with their body that they would literally surgically cut off their breasts or cut off their penis and replace it with pieces of other parts of their body to try to feel some semblance of good connectedness with themselves. That is heartbreaking. That is heart-wrenching to me. But it is, at its basis, a delusional thought. And to enable that thought strikes me as cruel. Any other delusional behavior in the psychological or psychiatric community would not be ignored, it would not be enabled, and it would not be applauded. It would be treated with gentleness, compassion, and small doses of reality to have that person come back to a place where they're living within the realms of that reality. We cannot change the body we are born in. If we could, I would have picked a better one. 7 surgeries later, you don't think that I wish I was born in a different body? Of course I do. Mostly I wish there was bought parts that I could replace like I can for my car. We're not quite there yet. Even if we were, I don't think I'd want bought parts. That sounds highly problematic. I've seen too many sci-fis, but I digress. You can't be born in a different body. You're born in the body you're born into, and you do the best with it that you can. From a Christian point of view, God made us, and I have a hard time believing that he would put somebody's soul in the wrong body. But even if you get away from the Christian religious element of it, there's something in the sense of the gut, the instinct that just says it's not quite right. It doesn't sit right, and it never did. Saying cisgender didn't sit right. I had a title on one of my interviews on my show that had cisgender, and I took it off because I don't believe in that word. It's not a real word, and I reject it. I reject the notion that somebody who has transitioned to a woman is a woman the very same as me or my mom or my sister. If that makes me a bigot, fine. Call me a bigot. But I can't lie. I cannot say things I don't believe. And I have tried to open my mind to see this differently, but I am not seeing enough evidence to show anything beyond what we already knew about gender and sex from the very beginning. You do not assign someone a gender at birth. You look at their genitals and you make a decision. And in the very rare case where we have things like intersex individuals, then we have a different discussion. At the end of the day, I'm sorry, trans women are not women. And if that gets me in all kinds of trouble because it's hate speech, then I think that the place that we're in, very simply put, is sad, and we could be on the verge of the collapse of our civilization. There's only a few sure things in life, guys. Death, taxes, gender. Something to think about. You can choose to believe what you will. You can say what you will. I personally will continue to respect all individuals who are struggling with this and their humanity. They are children of God, and will treat them as nothing less. But I don't believe that telling them there's something they're not is helpful. I think it's cruel, and I think it's wrong. And I think it's going to do a lot more damage individually and societally than many people realize. So I hope you have a good day. Many blessings in 2020, and I will see you in the next one. As always, be good to each other. Not because the government or any lobbying group tells you to. Bye, guys.